The Trans-Canada Highway is the country's longest national road. It stretches coast to coast, more than 7,800 kilometers across the country. It provides links to major cities, small towns, and scenic routes that will take you through some of the most beautiful locations in Canada. In this video, and thanks to GM Canada, I'm driving a small section of the TCH across BC and Alberta, with some epic detours along the way. And I'll share what I learn about the landscapes and communities that we discover as we drive. My journey begins here in Coquihalla Harbour. This Vancouver neighborhood is located between downtown and Stanley Park, along the shoreline of Vancouver Harbour. I'm staying at the Westin Bayshore, which is a beautiful hotel right on the waterfront, and a short walk to Stanley Park. It has stunning views, comfortable rooms, and great food. And the reason I'm here at this hotel is thanks to GM Canada. But I'll explain all that tomorrow when we set off across the province. I was invited to Vancouver to participate in GM Canada's National Super Cruise Drive. This is a first of its kind coast-to-coast road trip from Victoria to St. John's, Newfoundland. And a small group of media, including myself, get to experience Canada's most iconic routes with Super Cruise hands-free driver assistance technology. And my journey begins on the Trans-Canada Highway, heading east. The Trans-Canada Highway is a continuous road that allows vehicles to travel across Canada. The highway runs through Canada's 10 provinces. At 7,821 kilometers, it is the fourth longest highway and second longest national highway in the world. Until the 20th century, roads were relatively rare outside of cities in Canada. Travelers mainly used waterways, trails, and, beginning in the 19th century, railways. As cars became more popular, demand grew for roads that connected cities and provinces. Motorists in particular wanted paved roads that would allow for faster travel. In 1912, the Canadian Highway Association began urging the Canadian government to build a highway system between the provinces, and they even offered a medal for anyone who could cross Canada entirely by car. A British journalist named Thomas Wilby completed a cross-country car journey in 1912, but he used ferries and rail cars to cross northern Ontario, which didn't have connecting roads at the time. This made him ineligible for the medal. I mean, come on, just give the guy the medal. About 2 hours east of Vancouver is Hope, BC. The town is located on the banks of the Fraser River and surrounded by the lush Cascade Mountains. The town was established as Fort Hope, an outpost of the Hudson's Bay Company in 1848. It was so named because the area provided hope that an all-British route between Fort Kamloops and Fort Langley could be established. The Hope Mountain Cafe is right in downtown, and it offers a pretty wide variety of items. It's great coffee, by the way, and it also offers pastries, wonton soup, or poutine, whatever you feel like, I guess. It was a great place to escape the drizzle for a few minutes. Hope is known as the chainsaw carving capital of the world, so you'll find wood carvings throughout downtown, including this one of actor Brian Dennehy and Stallone. Yeah, so BC was the filming location of Rambo First Blood, and it seems like this is the thing the town is most proud of. Throughout town, you'll find all kinds of Rambo stuff, from paintings to gift shops, wood carvings, of course. The town even named a laneway after the action hero. There's a self-guided walking tour of the filming locations available on the town website. I'm a movie buff, so I loved this. The famous Rambo Bridge was unfortunately taken down and replaced, but it's still fun to see the filming location. And we managed to get some nice shots of our GMC Acadia AT4 as we left town. From Hope, BC, the Trans-Canada Highway goes north for a stretch. So, this marks the beginning of our first detour away from the TCH. Hope is where the Coquihalla Highway begins. It runs between Hope and Kamloops with speed limits up to 120 kilometers an hour. BC is the only province with speed limits this high, and it's a great place to put GM Super Cruise technology to the test. Super Cruise is the next generation of cruise control. It operates on over 960,000 kilometers of mapped roads across Canada and the US from coast to coast. And a team of Canadian engineers helped build and map every kilometer of it. And on those mapped roads, Super Cruise steers, brakes, accelerates, and even changes lanes for you, completely hands-free. You have to stay attentive, it's not self-driving, but the vehicle does the work. And they don't reserve it for their high-end models or trim. It's available on 23 GM vehicles across Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, and Cadillac, both gas and electric. The steering wheel actually has a camera in it which monitors the driver's attentiveness, even with sunglasses on. The Coquihalla terminates at Kamloops, which is our next stop. The landscape here is incredible. As you get closer to Kamloops, the environment changes dramatically. From the lush green you'd expect to find in BC, to an arid desert climate like something you'd find in Utah or Nevada. And in fact, Kamloops and the Okanagan region are biogeographically connected to those US states, plus parts of Washington and Oregon, and I think Idaho. The reason for the arid climate is because Kamloops is located in a rain shadow, which means the mountain ranges to the west block a lot of the prevailing winds and precipitation coming from the coast. Kamloops, while it is one of the warmer climates in Canada, it still gets cold snaps through the winter, but after speaking to a local at Subway, it sounds like it's relatively short-lived. During the summer, the city enjoys a lot of sunshine and a long growing season. It is honestly a strange feeling to be in a desert environment in Canada, but it just reminds me that it's not just our population that's diverse. And it's a really fun place to explore. Kamloops sees over 1.5 million visitors each year, and I can see why. It's such an interesting city with the arid mountain backdrop and the beautiful Thompson South and North Rivers converging downtown. It's a very scenic and unique setting. Kamloops offers great hiking, biking, and outdoor activities in the surrounding desert landscapes. So if you're looking for some adventure, I think you could find it here in Kamloops. And our Acadia AT4 easily and comfortably handles the forestry roads north of the city thanks to its active torque control all-wheel drive and off-road tuned suspension. Leaving Kamloops, we pick up the Trans-Canada Highway once again. Continuing east as we leave the city behind, the TCH hugs the banks of the South Thompson River, and a short distance away is the Pritchard Bridge. It's a short drive off the TCH and definitely worth a stop. Walking out onto the bridge provides some amazing views of the river and the surrounding landscape. The bridge was built in 1910 and incredibly still stands today. It provides access to homes on the north side of the river, and surprisingly, it can hold fully loaded logging trucks. The creation of the Trans-Canada Highway was a supreme act of nation building. Years behind schedule and hundreds of millions of dollars over budget when completed, it was nonetheless an engineering feat of the first magnitude, hewn from an unforgiving landscape by the scarred hands of unknown workers who joined forces to construct Canada's highway to the future. Like I mentioned earlier in the video when we were driving to Hope, BC, the idea of a national highway system was first proposed around 1912, but it would take decades for the project to actually get off the ground, and decades more for it to be completed. Construction truly began in 1949, and the entire Trans-Canada Highway wasn't fully paved and officially finished until 1971. In several different locations across the country, provinces had to contend with their own unique challenges. Ontario had to build across swamps, which included building 25 bridges and an unfathomable amount of gravel to construct a solid roadway. Newfoundland had its own challenges, and it took until 1965 to complete the road, and another 6 years to pave it. And BC, well, it faced its own challenges with 8 meters of annual snowfall in some places, and the constant threat of avalanches through the Rocky Mountains. The Trans-Canada Highway is truly an epic project and something Canadians should be proud of. Today, we get to enjoy the fruits of all that labor with incredible driving experiences like this. And this sunset is an epic way to end night one on the road. We finally made it to Revelstoke, where we're going to crash for the night, and we'll be off early again tomorrow for day 2 as we approach Banff National Park. I'm up very early this morning as it's my only chance to explore Revelstoke. It's pretty quiet around here at 6 a.m., but the town looks beautiful and scenic with the surrounding mountains at the end of each street. Revelstoke was established in the very late 1800s when the Canadian Pacific Railway was built through the area. It was named Revelstoke after Lord Revelstoke, who was the head of a UK investment bank and who helped secure funding to complete the Canadian Pacific Railway. Revelstoke was once one of the largest communities of BC's interior, thanks to its importance as a railway hub. Steamboat traffic from the Columbia River connected with the Canadian Pacific Railway, making this an important transportation center. Some of the early industries here were mining and forestry, and continue to play a role in the economy. Revelstoke Mountain Resort opened in 2007. However, skiing has been a part of the culture here since 1890. Today, tourism is a big part of Revelstoke's economy, with skiing being a major component. In the 1960s, the Trans-Canada Highway was built through here, which provided easier access to the area. Speaking of, we have a long drive ahead of us today, so it's time to get back on the TCH. Revelstoke sits on the western side of the Rocky Mountains and is kind of like a gateway into the Rockies. As we drive east through the Selkirk Mountains, we start to pass through national parks and national historic landmarks, like Rogers Pass. It's named Rogers Pass after A.B. Rogers, who was hired by the Canadian Pacific Railway to find a route through the mountains. And in 1962, Prime Minister John Diefenbaker held an opening ceremonies for the TCH right here, even though it wasn't completely finished yet. We made a quick pit stop in Golden, where our pit crew fueled us up, and we set off for Banff National Park and the Icefields Parkway. I recently bought myself a Parks Canada Discovery Pass, which gives you access to about 80 Parks Canada locations, including national parks, national historic locations, and national marine conservation areas. But Parks Canada is bringing back the Canada Strong Pass again this year, which means you get free admission to Parks Canada sites from June 19th to September 7th, which is about 12 weeks. If you buy an annual pass like I did, they simply extend the expiration date on your pass by 12 weeks. Like I've mentioned a couple times now, we're on a very tight timeline, so we did what we could with our time. But you could spend days exploring all the stops along the parkway. I mean, every pull-off is just incredible. You definitely need to keep track of your time though, because you could easily find yourself pulling off at every stop and getting behind schedule. On day 3 of this road trip, we're driving a Buick Enclave. This is a 3-row SUV with a turbocharged engine and ultra-wide display. It's actually a really nice interior with premium leather, heated and cooled seating, a great panoramic moonroof, and a Bose audio system. And of course, it features GM's Super Cruise hands-free driver assistance technology. And like I also mentioned earlier, GM has mapped 960,000 kilometers of road, including sections of Banff and Jasper National Park. Super Cruise steers, brakes, accelerates, and even changes lanes for you completely hands-free. And if you were to have a medical emergency, the vehicle actually recognizes this and will slow down and pull over to the side of the road, and then it makes a call to emergency services through OnStar. Pretty crazy stuff. Certainly makes these long road trips safer. It's always important to keep track of how much gas you have, especially when entering a place like Banff National Park. And if you need gas, drinks, food, souvenirs, or bathrooms, you'll want to stop here at Saskatchewan River Crossing. The parkway is 232 kilometers long, and there's one gas station about halfway between the park's south entrance and Jasper to the north. Driving along the Icefields Parkway, one might think that this rugged landscape would be impossible to traverse without this incredible road. However, as daunting as the terrain may seem, people have explored the area for centuries. Long before there was a parkway, or even a Canada for that matter, Indigenous people hunted and traded over the immense mountain passes and valleys. The earliest Europeans to explore the area followed Aboriginal guides along trade and hunting routes. The very first national park was called Rocky Mountain Park. It would later become Banff National Park. But along with the newly created park and the Canadian Pacific Railway's completion in 1885, thousands of visitors headed to the Rockies. As the region's popularity continued to grow, additional national parks were established, including Yoho, Glacier, Waterton, and Jasper. And by 1911, the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway had reached the town site of Jasper. During the Great Depression, the government of Canada decided to turn the Wonder Trail into a single-track road. And in 1931, construction of the Icefields Parkway began, a project that would make the mountain trail accessible to everyone, including silly YouTubers testing hands-free driving technology in 2026. The project took 600 people and 10 years to complete, and they accomplished this feat with only a handful of tractors, shovels, and horses. In the 1950s, as cars became more popular, it attracted more people and families to the national parks, and tourism took off. Jasper locals Bill Ruddy and Tom McCready started offering the first snow machine tours of the Athabasca Glacier, and tourists have been flocking here ever since.
That's interesting. So it comes like tumbling down. I feel like this is a way better, let's go option, right?
If you want to walk up to the base of the glacier, it's a fantastic experience as well, and it doesn't cost extra to do. There's a parking lot just off the parkway. It's a bit hilly, and depending on the time of year, you may need to navigate over snow. But it's totally worth the effort. Especially considering it's Jasper's most accessible glacier. It's receded quite a bit over the decades, but it's still pretty huge. It measures 6 square kilometers and 300 meters at its thickest. The glacier is part of the Columbia Icefield. The highest peaks of Jasper National Park capture moisture carried by the Pacific winds. The moisture falls as snow, which can be up to 7 meters a year. It's so much snow, in fact, that it can't entirely melt during the summer. So it accumulates and becomes ice, and that becomes part of the glacier. The meltwaters from the Athabasca Glacier and Columbia Icefields create the Athabasca River. And one of the best places to see this is at Athabasca Falls. Easily one of the most beautiful waterfalls I've ever seen. The falls aren't huge, but they're very powerful. And the water has carved incredible canyons into the landscape. The Athabasca River is the largest river system in Jasper. And make sure you take the pathway that goes under the bridge. It follows an old channel where water used to flow. But now you can navigate this little slot canyon, which takes you to the bottom of the waterfalls, where it drains out into a wider section of river. You'll also get an up-close look at some of the destruction from the forest fires of previous years. The last stretch of our road trip takes us up the Icefields Parkway to Jasper. It's a beautiful section to drive at sunset. I think we arrived in Jasper around 10 p.m. With only a few minutes to explore, I took in what I could while I waited for food. Jasper is actually one of the endpoints for the Rocky Mountaineer train, and I happened to see one parked here in Jasper, which I would love to ride one day. The town began as a fur trading post. Once Jasper National Park was established, Jasper began to grow with the tourism economy. The Grand Trunk Pacific Railway helped to spur that growth. Today, it's still a major tourist center, and it's also where we'll be picking up the Trans-Canada Highway tomorrow. We arrived here in the dark last night, and we're setting off early for Edmonton today. But the Overlander Mountain Lodge is set in a spectacular location. I'm seeing all of this for the first time at 7:30 a.m., and we're basically loading up and taking off immediately. But I took in what I could from the beautiful patio off the restaurant. The cabins are decent and feel similar to like an Ontario rental cottage. But the lobby and restaurant are beautiful, and this would be a great home base for exploring the area. I just wish I had more time. There isn't a whole lot to see between here and Edmonton, plus we had to just drive straight to the airport. So this is where we ended. The drive-in experience was an absolute whirlwind, and I feel like I got a fantastic sampling of so much of BC and Alberta, but I'm not quite satisfied. So I'm already making plans to return and dive much deeper into these incredible provinces. Thank you, GM Canada, for inviting me to participate in this crazy cross-country adventure. And thank you for watching. I'm Mark. I make videos about interesting places and experiences here in Canada. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. See ya.